I'm in shock and I need to tell people about what just happened. So, I've dressed to get dinner tonight. And this man is on his way and he's booked dinner and he's coming to pick me up. And he texts me as I'm getting ready, like half an hour before. And he goes, I kid you not, word for word. All right, you shallow bitch. Don't judge my car. I've had it since I was 18 and no one has a car in London. This is our second time meeting, and he is a over 30-year-old plus man, has a normal career, and we barely have a friendly relationship. It's only our second time getting dinner together.
Should women have zero tolerance against disrespectful behaviors? It's something that is some kind of a gray area. In the face value, of course not. But it all depends. You may be tested, but playing such games in the beginning is never a good idea.
And I was just like, what? Like, no one, I barely call my friends cuss words. And if we ever do playfully call each other bitch, it's very, very, very few friends in person. And it's like people that I'm very close with. I have very little tolerance for cuss words, especially with men I go on dates with. So this really threw me off. And I told him, I was like, what? Like, why would you call me that? And then as I'm getting ready and I talked to my younger brother and I told him what happened, he goes, "Why, don't go to dinner." And I initially didn't feel like I could have just canceled because I felt bad that this person was on their way. But then I thought to myself, you know what? Like, this is not okay for me. And these are my standards. I don't want to get dinner with someone that can just call me that whenever they want. And so, literally, as he got here, I let him know. And he calls me and complains and says that it's rude that I intentionally let him know now that he's driven across the city. And when I explained to him, hey, like, I didn't know how I was feeling, like, I didn't realize how upset it made me feel, and I was being super respectful, he literally hung up on me. And then 10 minutes later, sent
Hmm.
me a long ass apology. This is a grown man over 30 thinking it's okay to call a woman a bitch before coming to pick her up for dinner. But you know what? When one door closes, another opens because another sweet boy who is planning a date
Okay.
began texting me about the next date that he was planning for us. And moral of the story is don't be afraid to cut people off on the first go
Hmm.
because what the hell?
So I only date guys that give me level 10 effort, and I'm going to tell you exactly how that looks based on a guy that I've recently started dating. One, when we were messaging on dating apps, he was giving me long, extensive answers. He was
There is one thing to remember that I think this is just one perspective on dating, what these women are saying, and what works for one person may not work for another. So, but I think building healthy and I'll say open communication relationships. There's also mutual respect. Or we all know the common values, right? All the willingness to understanding each other is just what works most of the time. But it's very difficult to really implement these things, especially if you don't have the same energy levels.
really engaged, asking me questions, keeping the conversation going, being very consistent. That's level 10. Within just a few days, he asked for my phone number, planned a date on his own, and drove out to my city to come meet me. He then paid for our brunch, and then he also knew how bad I wanted dark chocolate covered strawberries and that I was going to go take myself to get some. So he came with me and he insisted on paying and bought me some and sat there with me and asked me very deep questions about all things life. And that to me, that's level 10. For the second date, he offered to come pick me up, even though it was super out of his way and he'd be doing a lot of doubling back, but he came to pick me up. That's level 10. Then he also had a big bouquet of flowers right there that he stopped at the store to get on his way there. That's level 10. He bought us tickets to a
Okay.
comedy show because he knew I enjoyed comedy. That's level 10. I told him how cool this sushi spot sounded that he described to me, so he wanted to take me to that spot. That is level 10. That sushi spot was also really overpacked, so he kindly was like, let's just go to a different location. Went to another one, was not in a bad mood when they were overly packed. He's like, but we're still gonna get sushi. Drove to another one, didn't care. By our third spot, we got dinner. To me, that's still level 10. When we sat down at the restaurant, he immediately said, I'm gonna sit next to you. We're gonna share a booth together. I wanna sit close to you, it's easier. That's level 10. He asked a million amazing questions, paid attention to every detail, remembered things that I told him from the first date and in between texting, checked in a lot of things. That's level 10. He paid for dinner. That's level 10. He opens up my car doors. That's level 10. He made sure
Okay.
that I never stood on the outside of the street, always moved over so he was on the outside. That's level 10. He always asks me what I want to do, what would make me happy, what would make me feel good. That's level 10. He never judges a single thing that I say, never criticizes me, never says anything negative. He's always curious, always engaged, and always happy to get to know me. That's level 10. By the end of the second date, he told me how much he liked me and how he could see things working out really well with me, and immediately asked me when he could see me again. He planned it right away. And even though I only had one day left in the week that I was able to see him, and it was just 2 days away, he moved things around to make sure that he could see me because he made it very clear. He said, I want to see you before you go out of town, so I'm going to make Sunday work. That's level 10. Then he drove all the way out to me again and went to the exact restaurant that I wanted to because he knew it would make me happy. That's level 10. I could go
Okay.
on and on and on and on and on. He has done everything level 10. He's always consistent in his texting. He never gets upset if I take very long to reply. He's never acting weird or jealous. He's just very honest, very open, very attentive, and very kind. That to me is level 10, and those are the only kind of men that I will date. And
Okay, so let me give you my opinion about the dating advice from these ladies. The dating advice in this TikTok compilation seems to advocate for some kind of a transactional view. This is in general, in my opinion, where women are encouraged to see men's actions, primarily in terms of the effort they exert in the pursuit in a relationship. So there's also this level 10 thingy that this lady is talking about, which is it encompasses various behaviors such as consistent communication, thoughtful planning, generosity, chivalry, and also emotional maturity. And this perspective might be empowering for some women who have felt undervalued or taken for granted in past relationships. And the emphasis on self-prioritization and recognizing one's worth is positive. Wow. Yeah. In general, that's how these women see it. But if you want to frame dating solely on the pursuit of these level 10 efforts, this could lead to some kind of a focus on external validation. That's how I read it, rather than genuine connection and compatibility, which is very important. And also reducing relationship dynamics to a checklist of desired behaviors might oversimplify the complexities of human interaction, which goes deeper, especially emotionally. So relationships involving I would say relationship in general involves this mutual understanding, compromise, and also navigating individuals' differences, which may not always align with a predetermined level 10 standard. So this whole level 10 thingy can be very tricky. But for me, I think it is important to remember that this is just one perspective on dating, and what works for one person may not work for another. But building healthy relationships without all these preconceived notions, I think is the way forward, in my personal opinion. Anyway, let's leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Coffee Podcast. I hope you learned something new today. Give me your thoughts and opinion in the comment section below. See you in the next one. Cheers.